Good morning, students. Welcome to class 6 of SYBSc Biotechnology. Students, in our last lecture, we have discussed about the first 6 principles of green chemistry with suitable examples. So now, in today's lecture, we are going to discuss remaining 6 principles of green chemistry and green synthesis, which includes green starting materials, green reagents, green solvents, and enzymatic catalyst. So let us begin our lecture. So the 7th principle of green chemistry is a raw material or feedstock should be renewable rather than depleting wherever possible. Students, instead of using depleting raw materials such as those obtained from fossil fuels, it is advisable to use raw materials which are renewable, such as biomass, methane, carbon dioxide, etc., which can be easily regenerated. The supply can last longer, unlike fossil fuels. So students, we can say that the perspective of this principle of green chemistry is largely towards petrochemicals. Use chemicals which are made from renewable sources rather than non-renewable sources. For example, overexploitation of non-renewable feedstocks will deplete the resources and future generation will be deprived, and also it puts burden on the environment. On the other hand, use of renewable sources such as agricultural or biological product ensures the sharing of resources by future generation. This practice generally does not put much burden on environment. The products and waste are generally biodegradable. 8th principle of green chemistry is unnecessary derivatization should be avoided whenever possible. Students, derivatization involves converting an organic compound to a suitable derivative in order to block or protect a functional group. Hence, processes makes use of a large amount of material to make the derivative and later generate a waste in the regeneration of the original substance. Hence, derivatization should be avoided whenever possible. So students, we can say that in organic synthesis, protecting or blocking groups are commonly used. According to this principle of green chemistry, unnecessary derivatization, for example, installation or removal of use of protecting groups should be minimized or avoided if possible, because such steps require additional reagents and can generate waste. For example, in organic synthesis, protection of some functional groups is required. Again, the deprotection of functional group is required at the end. Synthesis of meta-hydroxybenzoic acid from meta-hydroxybenzaldehyde. In such cases, atom economy is also less. The green chemistry principle aims to develop the methodology where unnecessary steps should be avoided. This can be done, if possible, by using practicable biocatalytic reactions, which very often need no protection of selective group. 9th principle of green chemistry is catalytic reagents are superior to stoichiometric reagents. Students, a catalyst facilitates a reaction without being consumed as part of the reaction and without being incorporated in the final product. Also, it lowers the energy requirement of a reaction. Catalytic processes are superior to stoichiometric processes by the fact that the stoichiometric reagent will generate 1 mole of product for every mole of reagent used, while a catalytic carries out thousands of transformations before being exhausted. So students, we can say that catalysis is the process of increasing the rate of a chemical reaction by adding a substance known as a catalyst, which is not consumed in the catalyzed reaction and can continue to act repeatedly. Thus, the use of a catalyst in the chemical reaction speeds up its rate and also helps to increase selectivity, minimize waste, and reduce reaction times and energy demands. For example, in the contact process of industrial production of sulfuric acid, sulfur dioxide and oxygen from the air react reversibly over a solid catalyst of platinized asbestos. 10th principle of green chemistry is chemical products should be designed so that at the end of their function they do not persist in the environment and release toxic degradation products into soil or atmosphere. Students, the products of a process should be biodegradable after their function. Chemicals which are non-biodegradable accumulate in the environment and cause serious health hazards. One such example is the bioaccumulation of DDT, a halogen-based organic pesticide used against mosquitoes, flies, and agricultural pests. Such a widespread use of DDT resulted in environmental pollution and caused toxic effects in humans. This resulted in banning the use and manufacture of DDT. So students, according to this principle of green chemistry, chemicals are designed in such a way that they degrade and can be discarded easily. It is ensured that both chemicals and their degradation products are not toxic, bioaccumulative, or environmentally persistent. That is, the aim of this principle is that the waste product should degrade automatically to clean the environment. Thus, the biodegradable polymers and pesticides are always preferred. To make separation easier for the consumer, an international plastic recycle mark is printed on larger items. 11th principle of green chemistry is analytical methodologies need to be developed to allow for real-time in-process monitoring and control prior to the formation of hazardous substances. Students, it is necessary to use accurate and reliable analytical techniques to monitor chemical processes and the generation of hazardous byproducts so that accidents can be prevented in chemical plants. So students, this principle of green chemistry focuses on developing analytical methods which allow real-time in-process monitoring and control prior to the formation of hazardous substance. Analytical methodologies should be developed or modified so that continuous monitoring of the manufacturing and processing unit is possible. This is very much important for the chemical industries and nuclear reactors. And the last, that is the 12th principle of green chemistry is substances used in a chemical process should be chosen so as to minimize the potential for chemical accidents. Students, use of volatile and inflammable solvent is a potential accident hazard as it can cause explosion and fires. The accidents cause loss of life and property. It is better not to use volatile solvents, and even if used, should not be recycled as it can lead to disaster. It would be best to perform a reaction in solid state or in aqueous medium. So students, according to this principle of green chemistry, we need to develop chemical processes that are safer and minimize the risk of accidents. Students, the substances to be used in a chemical reaction should be selected in such a way that they can minimize the occurrence of chemical accidents, explosions, fire, and emission. For example, if the chemical process works with the gaseous substances, then the possibility of accidents, including explosion, is relatively higher compared to the system working with non-volatile liquid and solid substances. Next is green synthesis. In that, green starting materials, which includes commodity chemicals from glucose. Students, we know that glucose is an excellent feedstock to synthesis a variety of commodity chemicals using the biochemical pathway. This route helps to minimize the use of carcinogenic starting materials such as benzene. Moreover, the synthesis is performed with water instead of organic solvents. For example, consider the conversion of glucose to adipic acid, which is a raw material in the manufacture of nylon 6,6 fiber. Next is green reagents. Students, selective methylation using dimethyl carbonate. Conventional methylations make use of methyl halide or dimethyl sulfate, which are toxic to the environment. Dimethyl carbonate is non-toxic and cause selective methylation of active methylene compounds. The process does not produce any inorganic salts. For example, methylation of aryl acetonitriles. Next is green solvents, that is, use of supercritical carbon dioxide. Students, the traditional solvents used in organic synthesis, such as chlorinated hydrocarbons, have a number of environmental problems, due to which banning solvents which are eco-friendly have been developed. One such solvent is supercritical carbon dioxide, which is liquid carbon dioxide at 31 degrees centigrade and 73 atmospheric pressure, and it is used in a wide variety of organic reactions. The solvent is non-toxic, non-flammable, renewable, and inexpensive. For example, consider free radical bromination of toluene in presence of supercritical carbon dioxide. Using N-bromosuccinimide as brominating agent gave 100% conversion to benzyl bromide. The reaction offers selectivity as well as good yield. Students, a lot of industrial applications of supercritical carbon dioxide, which include polymerization, essential oil productions, coffee decaffeination, as well as waste recycling, have been successfully carried out. And last is enzymatic catalyst, that is, green catalyst. Students, many organic conversions of industrial importance have been brought about with the help of enzymes, also known as biocatalyst. The advantages of using biocatalyst are: reactions can be carried out in aqueous medium, the reactions involve only one step, protection and deprotection of functional group is not necessary, and the reactions are fast and exhibit a high degree of selectivity. For example, consider the hydroxylation of nicotinic acid. And second, consider stereoselective reduction of ethyl acetoacetate. So students, in our today's lecture, we have discussed the remaining 6 principles of green chemistry along with green synthesis, which includes green starting materials, green reagents, green solvents, and green catalyst.